Hey everybody, welcome or welcome back to my tiny little YouTube channel. Doing something a little bit different today. An idea has been sort of rattling around in my head to compare two mods that are renditions of the same track in Assetto Corsa. That being Mosport or Canadian Tire Motorsport Park up in Canada. The two mods are the Mosport 2012 mod, which came out in 2015, which was a port from the version of the track that appeared in R-Factor. The other mod, which was released as almost a Christmas present to the community in 2018, is version 0.8 of the 2018 version of the track by John R. This version takes advantage of a lot of advances in AC tech, namely Content Manager for easy installation, and also the new shaders and, of course, Soul to provide some additional lighting. This version is also constructed based on not a port from an old game, but actual LiDAR data, scans of the track, confirmed by laser scans and other telemetry data, and also improved by collaboration with Lilsky, who worked on the very good Watkins Glen mod that has also just come out. You can see down at the bottom of the 2018 posting, Chris Haye has already released a video about, or previewing this mod when it was just coming out. Go give that a watch because it is undoubtedly going to be higher quality than this one, but it gives you a really great look at the 2018 mod. But since then, I've kind of had this idea that I'd like to compare the two directly with the same car. And the car of choice is this one, the Audi TT VLN. This was the car that I first raced on CTMP with back when Sim Racing System had its Audi VLN series last fall. And I enjoyed an unusual degree of success in this car on that series. So I figured, let's take it back and first rerun the 2012 version of the track, and then take it to the new version and see how they compare. So let's get started. All right, here we are, Mosport in 2012. This is the original mod that Sim Racing System is still using for its races in Canada. Full disclosure, this track holds a very warm spot in my heart as one of the earliest places where I enjoyed any measure of success. Had a podium finish here in SRS's series last fall. That turned out to be crucial in the championship standings. So I'm biased towards liking this track even more than most people. But that being said, it is a great driver's track. As Chris Haye noted, it's one of those great old school North American layouts. A flowing course, a little bit of everything. Even moss, which is kind of impossible to get through. But it's a great driver's favorite. So, in 2014, when this came out, it was filling a need in the AC track selection portfolio. We didn't really have any of these great North American track layout kind of things in AC. You had this track in R-Factor. It was great, so why not take it from R-Factor to AC, kind of fill that gap in the track lineup. And boy, is it great. It's really fun to drive. Plenty of detail on the sides to, various You know, you got the campsites and the spectators on the side of the track. You got some of the texturing on, you know, some of those signs and bridges and things. So I didn't sort of do my diligence of going back and looking at any real-life films of this track in 2012 to compare to, but it captures at least a bit of the spirit of the track in terms of its layout and kind of drivability. Now, there have been some questions about how accurate it is to the real-life course, and at this point, you know, even if it was perfect at the time, it's still a port from a very old game to a not-so-old game. It's not based on any direct measurement or data. It's just, hey, there's this cool thing that works in our factor. We brought it over so that it is drivable in AC, and it turns out to be good, so whatever. That's not to disrespect the effort that went to it, because I'm sure it was massive just to get that, especially at the time. But you know, it's as good as it is, it's starting to show its age a little bit. The textures are, dare I say, bland. The walls are just white. Just white. The track is kind of gray. The grass and trees are sort of faded, although that's kind of the state of all the grass and trees in the core tracks too, so you can't ding it so much. But it's starting to look like what it is, which is a port of a very old track into a not quite as old mod. Now, as you can see, as the sun goes down, I am using Sol and Shaders Patch to take us into the night here, and like it does with pretty much everything else in AC, Sol really does breathe some new life into this track in terms of the lighting and being able to do races at different times of day. But as you'll see, driving into the night here, one of the problems that this is going to have, especially now that night races are going to be a thing, like, oh my goodness, we can do night races in AC, let's do them all the time everywhere, right? Just like iRacing has been doing, hey, we have day-night, let's do it all the time. This version of the track doesn't support it very well. As you'll see, now that it's full dark, like I'm using the billboard on the left to sort of gauge my brake point at Moss. You can't see it anymore in the dark. Like it's too far off the track, and there's no other lighting, because of course you couldn't have lighting when this came out. And there's no other sort of landmark close to the track to be able to gauge your entry into Moss, and so I get it even more wrong than I usually do. And then of course, you know, we don't even have Picard's 4 lights. There are no lights. It sort of gives this impression of not like a haunted house, but like it's not really a race so much as it's some hoons have broken into an abandoned race facility and are driving around. You have only your headlights to guide you around, and so there just isn't really enough around the track to let you do that as well. So I think this track is going to start to suffer now that the combination of Sol and shaders is quickly becoming standard fare for AC. I don't know that this track mod is going to be able to keep up with it. Daytime racing and sort of twilight racing certainly actually looks really great. But even so, like it's starting to show how old it is. Still a great track to drive, but it still has that nagging question about accuracy, and it's starting to look as old as it is. So, with all that as context, and the best time of, let's see if we can get a slightly better lap here. We'll get one more lap in just to see if we can do any better, and then we'll take that test data, as it were, into the new version. Let's see. I'm gonna shut up. Okay, so that's 2012. Let's check out what happens when you fast forward back to the future. And here we are. Fast forward 6 years to 2018. And you notice right away that this is a very different place. Now, of course, part of the difference is caused by real life. And CTMP in 2018 has gone through real changes since 2012. Some of the corners are a bit wider. You have runoff in T2. You have a runoff area in Moss instead of just sand. And so this track, first of all, captures all of the things that have happened in reality since the original R Factor track in 2012. The other thing this gets you is all the advances in AC modding technology that have happened. This isn't just a version of the track for 2018. This mod is very much a product of 2018 in terms of the advances that have been made with lighting and weather effects and everything between Shaders Patch and Sol and all the other things. You can see how this track has been put together to take advantage of all of that. The lighting is better, the shading, the colors are more vivid. The skid marks are darker. It looks more real. It's not just, the original mod was a very good port of a very good sim track. This feels more like I am driving a Canadian Motorsport Park. It's so much better at creating that sense of immersion. When it's more realistic colors and shading and everything else. And the tiny little details here and there, and it's popular. I mean, there's hardly a comparison really between the original one and this one. This really just... This could have come out for ACC. I mean, the quality of visuals alone, it feels like something brand new. And couple that with the fact that this was built from scratch, based on real data, direct measurements of the track and the surroundings. Ported into a brand new from scratch build. This is not a port of a mod. This is a from-scratch build from real data. And so you get... Look at that sunset. Sorry, I got distracted by the beauty of it all. But anyway, you get a lot of the questions of accuracy just pre-answered. Like, this is the real deal. And you notice, going through Moss there's no, like, blind camel hump in the pavement there. You can actually see where you're going. And some of the other places, too, like coming into this last complex before the start-finish straight. Right here at the end of the Andretti straight, you get this nice sweeping right, and it feels so different. And you get these big black patches of asphalt defining the racing line for you. Like, you don't even have to have the racing line indicator on, because you got these nice contrasting stretches of track that just pop right out at you. And the feeling when you get it right and you just whack onto one of those strips of black pavement, and you just kind of, I don't know if it actually affects the grip of the car, but when you get it right, you just grab onto one of those and shoot through the corner. It's just really gratifying. And you had this, like, if you go back and look closely at the 2012 mod, it had those same things, but they just weren't as vivid. They weren't, you weren't really as in touch with them as you are. So yeah, I mean, this is a bit of an unfair comparison, because there's so many more tools in the tool chest of a modder these days. And the guys that brought this mod to the table not only had those tools, but had the artistry to use them in combination so effectively. This is really something special. And now that it's getting dark, we get to see the other benefit of having all this stuff around. That building is lit up, folks. It is night, and while CTMP doesn't actually host night races, there's none of that sort of haunted house feel to it anymore. You got lights in the flag stands, and the official stands are lit. If you see in the distance there, even some of the RVs and campers are lit. Some of the outbuildings here have lights on the porch and everything. Even at night, it feels lived in. It feels like a real track. Even though it's still occasionally hard to see where you're going. Even here in Moss, you sort of wind your way through. Oh, there's the black patch. I need to follow it. And here I go. I mean, it's really a joy to drive. As biased as I am towards loving the original 2012 version of the track, I mean, you can't overstate how much better this is in terms of drivability, not only for people who have done this a million times, but especially for newcomers to the track. I mean, you can just turn the driving line off and just sight by the pavement itself and the landmarks around the track and everything. And all the textures are just that much more detailed. You got the barriers on the sides aren't just clinical white tile rectangles. They've got texture to them. When the light hits them just right, you see ripples and metal and tire marks on some of them. And as you can see, like coming into Moss here, there was 2 black signs on the side of the road that weren't there in the original version. You can see those at night. Like, you have landmarks to be able to drive around even when it gets dark. And of course, the lighting both during the day and at night. this mod takes all of the things that came out of 2018 in terms of great advances in modding technique and artistry, and it uses all of them to great effect. So you couple that with the fact that Mosport is just in itself an awesome place to race, and this is clearly the new high bar in renditions of this track. So, no disrespect to the originals, of course. It's still a great mod, especially when you consider how long ago it came out and where it came from. The fact that it has stood up so long is a credit to that work, but man, oh man, you come to this and it's just like, oh look, how do I get through Most? Oh, just follow the pavement. There it goes. And there I go, and I'm out of the corner. And look at that. It's just... Now, I'm not a great driver, but even I can do that. Quickly, repeatedly, well, that's a tale for another day. But this is just so great. Hats off to these guys. Now, I could sit here and drive for like an hour, but I'm trying to make a video, so I'm going to be disciplined. And I'm going to shut up here and cut it short, and we'll wrap this thing up. So, what have we learned today? We've learned that the original version of the track, the 2012 layout, ported in 2014, is still fun. And in fact, Sim Racing System is still using that original mod version for its races at CTMP. Sim Racing System is still racing in 2012 in Canada. So if you plan to run races on Sim Racing System, chances are that's where you're going to run them, is in the 2012 layout version. But in terms of, if you could only have one, which one should you get for yourself? As great as the original is, and as close as it is to my heart in terms of sentimentality, it is a 5-year-old port from a 7-year-old layout. It's really kind of starting to show. As great as it was at the time, it's getting a little dated. And with the questions about, well, it's just a port of another game, it wasn't directly measured, all that stuff. When you look at the new mod, the Mosport 2018 mod, you see that it is scratch built from direct, precise measurements of the current track. It's produced with all the various techniques and tools that came out in 2018 to make AC look better overall. If you're just getting a version of this track to have one for yourself, I think clearly the newer track that takes advantage of all the things that have happened in AC, that's the one to get, in terms of realism and immersion and just the sort of visual aspect, the racing aspect. It's the real CTMP is a better track than it used to be, and this captures all of that. So if you only have one, get the new one, definitely, and support the mod authors on. I think they have a donation link at the bottom. But that said, if you're going to be running Sim Racing System, you're going to end up with both, and you'll enjoy both, because as old as it is, and even if the visuals are getting a little dated, Mosport 2012 is still a fun track to race on. And, you know, from a retro point of view, in many ways that track doesn't exist anymore. And so from that aspect, it's like, oh, neat. I get to go back in time to 2012, for better or worse. So yeah, that's kind of the aim of this track, of this video, rather, was to go to both versions of the track and just kind of try them out and see what happens. And predictably, the original mod is still fun, but the new one is just mind-blowing. So there you go. Experiment was a success. So there you have it. That'll about wrap it up for this one. If you haven't seen Chris Haye's video about the 2018 mod, give it a watch. It's much better than this one. I'm just kind of screwing around with an idea here, but you know, it's amazing what a little production value and knowledge of what you're doing will do for a video. So give that a watch. And yeah, I guess that'll do it for this. If you watched this far, thank you very much. If you even thought it was worth watching, go ahead and poke that like button. You'll be one of maybe half a dozen people who who join that exclusive club of liking these videos. And hey, I'll see you in the next one.